dreaming. Where do people dream? They dream, on TV, they dream in the radio, they dream in magazine, they dream on website. They start to explore your store. They're not selecting, and they're exploring. They're looking for the right store, not the right product. And we miss telling a story.
Like, we started selling this product out of the trunk of our cars.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Inventory management is about balance.
Get the product out. That's number one.
I've always preached sustainable growth.
So we just started building community.
Look at the data.
Product development is everything.
Yeah, we say we're a brick, click, and pop.
But you have to love what you do.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Merchant Mastery series. And today we have Dan Holman with Canadian Retail Solutions. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate being here.
Tell me what Canadian Retail Solutions does.
Canadian Retail Solutions is really a technical provider to retail. We look after point of sale technology, electronic fund transfers or EFT. So we are a technology provider to retailers out there, with our core audience being the independent retailer.
The independent retailer. And you've been doing this for how many years now?
Canadian Retail Solutions, turned 30 years old this year. So yeah, we've grown up here in retail.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, are you servicing primarily Canadian retailers? Do you service American retailers as well?
Yeah, about 70% of our audience is Canadian-based retailers, and then 30 is in the US.
30, and so that's the technical side of your business, right? You're providing POS solutions and that transaction support and things like that.
Yep,
correct?
Exactly.
Okay. But you also have a program called the Wealthy Retailer. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the Wealthy Retailer is really the consulting division of our Canadian Retail Solutions, brand, and we really looked for something that addressed every aspect of retail. Point of sale and the technology that comes with point of sale, they're just tools, that belong in our tool belt. And we created the Wealthy Retailer as a consulting division. It is essentially a boutique consulting firm that focuses on, the retail health or well-being of that independent retailer.
Tell me what that means, retail health, right? So there's probably different attributes to that, right? So
sure.
And our audience are e-commerce. They're Shopify merchants, right, on that platform. So tell us how that would apply to a Shopify merchant, independent.
The Wealthy Retailer really focuses on the cash health in retail businesses, right? And whether that's digital or brick and mortar, or a combination thereof, cash is still king in our world, and cash flow our queen. And we need to make sure that having enough cash to fund the business is first our primary goal. And so in becoming healthy in retail, we've got to understand the importance of putting ourselves in the right cash position. And that really works through inventory and merchandising and assortment. And again, it's not specific to brick and mortar or specific to digital. In today's world, we've got to look at how does it interact in both places.
Now, Dan, you've been doing this, for 30 years, right? So, and I can only imagine, online sales were very nascent or not existent at all. I'm pretty confident not existent at all 30 years ago. I was around at that time. I was selling IBM PC ATs in 1985, right? You remember that? 20 megabyte hard drive, 640K in RAM, AST, 6-pack in there. And that would be driving our, our POS system at that point. Right?
Exactly.
That's the kind of stuff it would be. That's the closer we came to it. Now, the evolution, let me get your perspective on this. The evolution of what we've seen online retailing become, and that's probably a 10 to 15 year cycle right about now, I would suspect, right? With the World Wide Web coming into play, the mid 90s, that kind of thing, and eventually catching up with all sorts of different ways for independent people to get on board. Can you tell me, what do you think the major advantages and impediments and the overall dynamics for an independent retailer right now to either start purely an online store, or if it's a brick and mortar, to get onto an online platform like Shopify? Tell me what you're seeing in the market.
Well, we certainly, let's rewind the clock, almost 2 years ago now, we saw a need to create a channel that allowed, we didn't have there was no choice, Kieran. We had to create a mechanism to be able to sell our goods to our retailers. And that meant that we turned to partners like Shopify to get ourselves online. And one of the things that we've certainly seen in the last 2 years is that local independent brick and mortars retailers, their ability to broaden their market share by adopting a platform like Shopify that puts them in a local community, anywhere on the continent. And, I'm going to be honest. 2 years ago, I would never have advocated for a digital channel the way I do today. We lived in a very tactile world. We still do, not just tactile, but social world where we longed for that engagement that happened in store. And now as the world has shifted, and it's really evolution, we've seen that her demand is happening not during my normal business hours, but when she has the freedom, to shop. And that often, depending on the demographic of your customer, it could be 11 at night to 4 in the morning. It could be through the feeding hours or, her downtime. And we've had to adopt a channel that allows us to communicate with her on her terms, not on ours. And I think that that's the biggest evolution. And retailers today that don't recognize that I have to live where she lives are a dying breed.
Yeah. And when COVID hit a couple of years ago, imagine that, and 2 years ago, wow. How did that happen, right?
Yes.
When COVID hit 2 years ago, we saw just a flood of new merchants coming to our agency, Sale I.T. And Sale I.T is, of course, the mothership to Merchant Mastery. And it was because it was a must do at that point, right? Floor traffic had dried up, the wholesale channels had dried up. So we had both, manufacturer and retailers coming to us. It was just an amazing situation with that kind of demand. Now, it strikes me that we're not going back to 2019 and the way we conducted business. So tell me, from your lens, why aren't we going back? Now, you mentioned a couple of things already.
Yes.
Right? We want to meet the client where they are, but
right.
What else?
But I think that you have to recognize that this is evolution. We've just gone through. Think about what happens pre-evolution. It's a revolutionary event, which the pandemic created, and it forced evolution. So the consumer evolved, right? The merchant evolved, the manufacturer or the vendors evolved. And when in our history, Kieran, now you and I, maybe we're not a century old, but look back in the last century, when have we ever taken a step backwards?
Never.
It doesn't happen in evolution.
No,
right?
Never.
Evolution by definition is us moving to a different place. Well, we've moved on. And this is part of the challenge today, especially in independent retail. Those that are resisting evolution will die a slow death.
And it really is evident to me that not only are the retailers being forced to evolve, but the customer is not going back either.
Right.
I will tell you, and this is sad to hear, but the availability of inventory and selection and and delivery and all these kinds of things, and I do not want to support Amazon if I can help it. Right. I would rather support the local merchant, but my God, the amount of advantages of getting a product through an Amazon channel or a Wayfair channel or anything like that, it completely changes the chemistry of what the expectation is in the customer's mind. Now,
it has. Yeah, you're right. So, Kieran, I'm going to just add to that it's not about Amazon anymore. Every one of the big retail players in our world have looked to Amazon and said, what are they doing that I can adopt? Look at Walmart, look at the Bay. HBC coming out now with their marketplace. Wayfair is in itself a marketplace, which is what Amazon created. It's the curation of product from multiple sources. And yes, through that process, they became, wealthy enough that they could build their own products to compete, with the audience that's out there selling. And the consumer is looking for convenience today.
Yeah.
Convenience can happen in the independent store the same as it happens at Amazon today. That didn't happen 2 years ago.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. So if you are, let's do a hypothetical. I've got an expert here, right? He's been consulting for 30 years. Let me give you a hypothetical. So you're an independent furniture store in Edmonton, Alberta, and you've got a 5,000 square feet in the West End. I'm actually thinking of a specific guy here right now, right? 5,000 square feet in the West End, and you got some floor traffic and things like that. But you are competing online with Wayfair. What is that? What is that independent? What can that independent do to have at least somewhat of a tactical advantage, in that online space?
What a great question. And I'm going to answer it with, we developed what we called our 12 steps to retail wealth in 2022. And for me, step number 5 is customer experience is everything. And the customer's expectations, Kieran, have changed. And we have to change with them. Her experience in store, physically or digitally, not brick and mortar, but her digital experience has to wow her. It has to touch her in a place that Wayfair cannot touch. It's how we serve. It's knowing who your customer is. Wayfair knows the digital footprint of their customer. What do we know about them? We know the neighborhood that they live in. We know the community that she lives in. We know how to support her needs ahead of what Wayfair does. And it's that personal attention that we deliver customers that wins against Wayfair. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I truly believe this. Experience outweighs expense. I will pay more for a better experience. And Wayfair's, return policy is probably one of the most attractive things. But as a retailer, I need that same return policy. You're not happy, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Done.
Dan, have you seen, like if you were to visit 100 independent retailers, how many would you say have an outstanding customer experience, that could have a tactical advantage against the Wayfairs of the world?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I can tell you in the local audience that I serve, I call them my local audience. They're the people that I work directly, my direct audience. I'm going to say a good half of them understand experience better than they understand expense. And the downside of that is that half the stores out there are not delivering on a superior customer experience. They don't put the customer first. They put themselves first. They think about business ahead of thinking about customer. Yeah. And that goes back to, what we believe have to be our guiding principles.
Yeah. And of course, the vast majority of our merchant mastery clients are online retailers exclusively. Some have a brick and mortar. We're seeing more of this now, but some have currently a brick and mortar attached to that as well. And we're just going to continue to see that explode. I'm almost dead certain of that. Mm-hmm. What I find very intriguing sometimes is that you go onto the product pages of these clients, and they're very product oriented.
Right.
Here it is, and this is what you can buy that, and here are the colors that you can select from, and they are completely leaving the power of brand narrative, on the table. They do not, they don't stoke the imagination, right, of that prospect, that is coming by on the website, and and really getting them to think about how this will transform their lives, right? Yeah. So
the biggest miss today in digital retailing, in any online retailer, if you're an online retailer and you're listening, pay attention here. The biggest miss is that we do not recognize that the customer has buying phases. Customers go from customers go from dreaming to exploring to selecting. Selecting is the act of buying. And so if they're dreaming, where do people dream? They dream, on TV, they dream in the radio, they dream in magazine, they dream on website. They start to explore your store. They're not selecting, and they're exploring. They're looking for the right store, not the right product. And we miss telling a story, right? The romance that comes with buying something, and it's not, Kieran, it can be as simple as a dress, a suit, a tie, a sofa. Imagine what your home is going to feel like. Imagine sitting, reading your favorite book in this sofa. That's telling a story that helps that consumer, as they're dreaming and exploring, to identify that this is the place I want to shop. They connect with me on a personal level, not a product level. And every product page out there that is just this plethora of 3x5 square images of product, mistelling a story about who you are and why you chose those products for your audience.
Now, I love that word you used. If you we're broadcasting from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, right? And one of our favorite restaurants around here, and they're down in the US as well, across Canada, is Earl's Restaurants. I remember sitting around a table probably 20 years ago, and I got a quick peek at the server's little sheet that she would write the order down. And one of the words on it, one of her cue words was romance.
Yeah.
And so one of her duties was to romance the menu item, not just take the order.
Right.
It was to romance the menu item. And I just don't see those kind of opportunities being seized on and being taken advantage of. And, like I said, if I can buy something from a local independent, I'm going to do that every day long, but not at a complete disadvantage to me, a small disadvantage maybe, to make sure that money stays in our community. But, I think there's a long ways to go with many of these retailers to get up to speed.
I don't disagree with you. And I think that the power that this independent retailer has, let's remember, brick and mortar has become a place to capture market, right? It has changed. It's become a medium. Look at look at the Apples of the world. Look at Amazons of the world. They're going to open brick and mortar stores, continuously open brick and mortar stores, because they see it as a way to capture an audience. They capture that audience with delivering an experience in store that allows that person to now go home and continue buying from that store. And I think that the misstep for the independent retailer is recognizing that they are a very impactful member of the community, and they've got to ride, that community wave. And I'm happy to support a store that's in New Haven, Pennsylvania, because I know that it's a local store.
Yeah.
Just the same as I am to support a store here in my hometown of St. Albert. I mean, I'm happy to support that independent, and not, I will pay. I don't mind a little inconvenience to know that I'm supporting someone who, by the way, puts their name on the front of my kid's hockey jersey.
Exactly right. To me, it's a moral obligation,
right?
To support it, but not at a severe disadvantage. And there's so much education that's needed, to get these retailers up to speed. The newer ones especially, right? Because it's not about products, it's about brand, it's about story, it's about romance, and so those kind of things. Yeah, you got to deliver a high quality product as well and such. Now, you and I were talking earlier, and we touched on it just a little while ago. Mm-hmm. You have a philosophy, and it's summed up in an acronym called WEALTH.
It
right?
is.
Tell us about it.
Well, for me, I've been talking about retail wealth for several years, and wealth being an acronym or, a philosophical belief system. For me, it's an acronym that clearly defines our objectives, our output, and our performance as a retailer. And it starts with having this winning approach, this belief in winning. And winning, Kieran, simply means that we keep score. We know when we're on track, we know when we're off track, and that we set out to create wins for our internal customer, our external customer, our partners, and of course ourselves. And every business, every game in the world is, the result is, did you win or lose? And in retail, we often don't lean hard enough on the scoreboard. We think only about sales, and retail is less about sales and more about what goes into sales.
Okay, can you give us a couple of examples? Give me a couple of examples of that. So that's
the
W. That's the W, right?
Yeah. Most important measurement in retail is my cash margin. How much cash do I generate out of every single sale? And cash margin pays attention to what you bought, not what you sold, right? Remember that gross margin, or cost of goods sold, measures profitability on inventory not yet sold. And in reality, in retail especially, cash leaves our business when we buy inventory. Doesn't matter what our margin is bringing it back. The cash margin that's left over is sales minus how much we spent on inventory.
Right.
What's left is how I pay my bills. It's
Okay.
how I pay my staff. It's how I pay for everything.
Now you said something intriguing there. It said there's a difference between what somebody bought and what somebody sold. Give me a clear explanation of that.
So in accrual accounting, I think of myself as a bit of a managerial accountant. I don't think about the accrued value in my inventory. I think about how much I spent on it. So the difference is, in cost of goods sold, which you see on just about every profit and loss statement or income statement, it measures the cost of only what you sold. It does not measure the impact of what you bought.
Got it.
You see, when you capture a sale, think about having a 3 times stock to sales ratio. It means I have 3 items to achieve the sale of 1. But if I only measure profitability on the one I sold, I lose sight of the cost of the 2 I didn't yet sell.
Got it. Bang on.
That's why cash margin is more important than gross margin.
Okay, got it. That's W. Let's go to E.
E is about energized, and we are energetic in the pursuit of our passion. And I'm going to say this to you, the best stores and your audience, your digital audience, the best stores are the ones that contain good stories that are high energy. Think about being in any environment. Energy is the most contagious. It's the most contagious attribute in someone. To the degree that you can demonstrate high energy, people get excited around you, and we are attracted to energy.
Yeah, we have an account management team over at Sale I.T, and the media buyers, young people, high energy. And what I routinely tell them is, we are in the energy transfer business. Right. And, your clients pick up on whether you're low energy, high energy, mid, whether you care, you don't care. Right. And we lose track of that, especially in the online environment. We want to really imbue the sites with that.
And think about, Kieran, being this influencer that independent retailers have become. If you're showing a video, if you're doing a live for your customer today, and you have this monotone, very boring, she doesn't get excited by you. She's not attracted to you. She leaves. I mean, she flips her screen to the next story, to the next reel, to the next video. You've got to have this energy, and energy comes from passion. If you're passionate about what you do, energy is easily coming.
We have 3 pillars that we talk about, and we said it earlier: merchant market fit, right? Product market fit, product channel. Merchant market fit is exactly what you're talking about there, right? Can you command people's attention with your knowledge and with your product fit, and just being able to really convey that in a high energy way, so that you instill that confidence in that prospect. Okay, so we are now at A. What does A stand for?
A is admired. We need to be admired by our peers, by our team, by our coworkers, by our customers, admired by our community. Remember this, we are independent retailers. We live within a community. We want people in our community to look at our store and admire us. Admiration is all about us longing to be famous without ever saying it. I mean, admiration, or the desire to be admired, is the desire to be humbly famous, quietly famous.
It also implies you have to do admirable things.
Exactly.
Right. And and I think a hot on that topic is, you can't be boring. You can't be standard. It's got to be something that you are differentiated in. Otherwise your brand doesn't stand. Okay, that's
and people aren't admired by your ability to copy someone else. People admire you for your ability to be you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we are at L. What does L stand for?
L is lean. Lean. We've got to practice this philosophy of being lean in everything we do. Lean in inventory, lean in expense, lean in presentation, lean giving us the ability to be nimble, to shift gears, the word of 2020 was pivot. The word of 21 was adapt. If you're not lean, you don't adapt. And look at the examples out there, Kieran, of stores, big retail companies that died on the vine. They couldn't shift. Being lean gives us that ability.
Yeah, and so many examples of that. Just have to go down to the US and take a look at what's happening with Kmart and Sears. Sears was the giant. of retail, for Sears Roebuck for all the late 1800s, early 1900s, that kind of stuff, right? Their catalog disappeared because they couldn't adapt. Okay, we are now at T.
Tenacious. See, tenacity has to be one of your attributes in being wealthy in retail. You've got to treat setbacks like anomaly. I make a bit of light of this, that that we live on this bipolar roller coaster in retail. We're going to wake up tomorrow. I mean, here we are in the thick of holiday shopping season as we record this. We're going to wake up tomorrow and think we're the greatest retailers in the world. And the next day, we're going to wake up and think we're a failure. And this is about our ability to treat those little setbacks as anomalies and not let them define us. Get up, we get knocked down or we get set back. We get up and we continue charging, in the pursuit of our vision.
Yeah, I often tell young people that we're coaching, that your degrees, your diplomas, all that, that's this much of everything, and it's going to be quite meaningless in 30 years, right? What's more important is grit, perseverance, your ability to get up again and exude that, because that is a clear leadership principle as well. That people's a leadership trait that people can sense in you, let alone see in you. Okay.
And our greatest successes are truly measured from our failures, not our wins. I mean, it's the setback that makes us stronger, and the ability to analyze and understand the why something is what it is without the infusion of excuse, right? The deflection of blame onto something I don't control.
Yeah.
Take ownership of something. Hey, this is where we missed our step. It's just a misstep. Let's fix this.
Get up, rise up. Move on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. We are at H. Tell me what H
is all about. Happiness. And I'm going to say that you've got to recognize that happiness is the essential ingredient of all successes. We first have to be happy in where we are before we will ever be successful. Too many retailers that I get engaged with forget about how important happiness is. And, I've leaned hard on Sean Aker and the happiness advantage for a long time. Someone introduced it to me 8 or 10 years ago, and it just has changed the way I look at things. I only try to build from positivity, from happy moments. And happy really is defined as this feeling of satisfaction and contentment. And happiness is how we build business. Pessimism. If you want bad stuff, Kieran, it's out there. It surrounds us. It'll consume us. But if we focus on being happy first, we will find opportunity that we didn't know existed.
Yeah. By the way, you've always struck me as a happy guy.
I am a happy guy.
High energy, happy guy, right?
Yeah.
Knowledgeable, high energy, happy guy. Okay, so that's wealth. Now
that's retail wealth.
That's retail wealth, right? And that's a core philosophy in your programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that the merchant has to bring to the table on their own. That's not none of this. You can teach aspects of this, but for the most part, this is something that has to be imbued in their character and their personality, whether you're an online retailer or not.
It doesn't matter what kind. Digital retailers have to have this winning philosophy. Yeah. And I can teach people how to keep better score, but winning the game has to drive them. They've got to be competitive first.
Yeah.
If your desire is, and let's not take this the wrong way, but if your desire is to participate, retail success will elude you.
Yeah.
I don't need a participation ribbon.
Yeah.
I need a gold.
Yeah. Bang on.
Gotta drive us.
Bang on. So let me ask you. So that's wealth, and you've got certainly many different aspects of your program, but this is one of the core features of it, right? You bring this to the table, then we can help you, right? Dan Olden's team can help you. Okay. Let me finish off our interview with this one question. Where do you see retail going? And I want you to confine this to online retail. Where do you see online retail going in 2022?
Well, I don't think that there has been a better time to be an independent retailer. I think that today the consumer, she has been sold a philosophy of supporting the need to support independent retail. And here we are. Look at what's happening across the country right now. They're putting more restriction on business, and that's going to bring a rise up in the consumer to support that business wherever they can. And as she's evolved, it's going to be online. And online is just simply one of the channels that she wants to be on. She is there. I mean, this whole I'm going to say surge that we've seen in social media has changed the way we buy. We now look to those influencers, not marketers. There's a difference. We look to those influencers to guide us appropriately. And as a digital retailer, you have to be a better influencer, right? Influencer by definition, someone that promotes products from a place of understanding them and knowing them to their curated audience. That's digital retailing.
Yeah. So, it's what is it now? Shopify has 1.5 million, 1.7 million sites now going. I see no end to that soon. It's just going to continue to grow at an exponential rate. So that means even more competition out in the market for similar categories of product and such. So
but competition, Kieran, is the absolute best thing for us. It keeps us on our toes. It helps us to be innovative, not iterative.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going. It even more exacerbates the need for you to stay on top of the game, stay on top of the technology, stay on top of the brand that you're trying to build, right? This isn't, participants. If you're just a participant, you're probably just a loser, on the side. Yeah. You're going to be, and I don't mean loser as a loser, but, as in, you can't win. You're not going to win the game. In the game to win, which is exactly what you just said.
And I think that what you're going to see, especially in 2022, is the ability, and this is education over entertainment. We can watch our competition and learn from their wins and their losses. Yeah. We have these groundbreaking early adopters in retail that we're going to learn from. And part of being, in my community, in your community, in our, retail educational community, is that we learn what best practices are, and we learn how to take what store A is doing and make it our own, and drive our business forward. It's a bright, bright future in retail, my friend.
Bang on. Dan Holman, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can listen. Canadian Retail Solutions at your fingertips. Retailbycrs.com. Dan at thewealthyretailer.com. Best way to get a hold of me. You can find us on all of your favorite social channels. And if you like a little bit of what you hear from me today, head over to your favorite podcast platform, search out The Wealthy Retailer, and catch our weekly podcast over there, where we share all kinds of opinion, advice, guidance, expertise from all different walks of our retail world. It's certainly not just me. I lean hard on our retail community for that content.
Terrific. Dan Holman from The Wealthy Retailer and Canadian Retail Solutions. Thanks for joining me on our show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the offer.